When we film in stop motion, we think of how we have to take one single photograph of each movement of the figure that we are animating. This often leads many to believe that this is a tedious and painstaking form of animation. As you can see here, this is a dinosaur being filmed at 12 frames per second with one photo for each movement. And this is the same at 24 frames per second, which leads us to a conundrum as to what is the proper way to animate. As you can see here, this is the arm moving at 12 frames per second, and this is the arm moving at 24 frames per second. So they seem a little different and a little weird, so much of what you're saying isn't making any sense to me, because you see, on the one hand we have to film shooting in ones. On the other hand, people keep talking about shooting in twos, so what exactly is the right way to film a stop motion character? Well, actually, it's a combination of both, where you utilize twos and ones while filming your figure. And we're going to see in this tutorial how it is possible that we can utilize these methods to create vibrant and unique and, well, good stop motion animation. First thing to note is where we put our figure on our set. I am working with a green screen, and it is actually most suitable, as you can see where the tripod is at, to have your camera as far away from the figure as you're going to be moving in and out to animate this figure. And because we'll be shooting in twos, this can affect our lighting source as we're taking two photographs of one movement, which can create differentiation and light flicker. So with that out of the way, let's get to animating. Now, I like to start off almost at a crawl, where I'm just barely nudging the puppet. Now this is sped up from the actual time it takes to shoot, but as you can see with my fingers, I'm getting an indication of how many photos we're taking for each movement. So just barely touching the puppet until then, when I start to shoot into ones, then I can kind of move it a little more, but here I'm going to do a combination of shooting of ones and twos as we get to the wider movements, which will be shot strictly in ones. And this helps to create a fluid look, which is kind of like how a lot of people at Armin Animation animate their puppets. But as I'm moving along here and getting a little ahead of myself, my puppet is starting to misshape a little bit, because as the clay is moving around, the wire is starting to cause a shift, so I'm using petroleum jelly to smooth things out and also to give it a nice shiny look, because I think when you're working with clay, it looks, you want to have the fingerprints as a way of showing the fingerprint of the artist. However, it does start to look a little distracting, and shooting in HD, the fingerprints will actually be more apparent. So I'm slowing the character down, and we're going back to ones and twos before we go steadily to twos, once again just barely nudging the puppet. Now, this would be a good time to talk about some of the specs of this puppet. This is actually a polymer Sculpey clay head and hair, which I baked in the oven. It's just good to have a solid surface, because when you're doing lip syncing and eye movements, this is a creative way of being able to use plasticine to be able to achieve these effects. But of course, we still have some maintenance, and I'm using alcohol white. It's just a good way of getting in there easily to remove any of the smudging. As I'm working with a character that's wearing a blue suit, well, that blue clay is going to get on my fingers, as well as the pupils, which also are blue, will get onto the eyes. So I think this is a nice technique. And this is something that I've seen in a lot of behind the scenes videos about stop motion, and something that is done often in claymation is, when you're making eye movements, one thing is you can animate the eye all the way through. The thing is, nobody walks around with their eyes wide open all the time unless they're staring at their smartphone screens. So we go ahead and do a blinking motion. So this gives us an easy way of being able to move the eyes without actually having to animate them, because we already got enough on our plate while we're trying to animate. And of course, I'm giving the indications of how many frames we may want to take, because I also like to nudge those pieces of the closed and the partially closed eyelids, sort of to give it the idea that it's moving either slowly or quickly. A person that's kind of looking sleepy will have a slow eyelid movement, or a person that's kind of thinking quickly might have a quicker one. These are all things that, of course, you can figure out as you're animating. Well, and with that said, I do think with this whole process of motion, it's been a learning experience. And working with green screen is a whole topic for another day, which I hope to talk about soon. As you could see here with my current project, I'm really trying to utilize all sorts of different facets to amp up my production values. So I will plan on doing another video about that soon. And if any of you have any ideas or things you would like to hear me talk about, whether tutorials or my content, etc., please leave a comment. Make sure to like and subscribe. I really enjoy hearing back from all of you. It certainly helps me to hear what you all enjoy or things that you may think need to be done better. It's certainly helping me grow. And one thing I have to say kind of on a final note is when you're doing this, always ask around because so many people are willing to help. I've actually had professionals give me advice and wonderful people who've, encouraged me to amp up my skills. So I definitely recommend, always ask. Don't ever feel timid because you can only advance further with the more you know. And that's what at least I'm hoping I can do with you in this tutorial. And hopefully next time we can talk more about many of the various technical aspects that get into animation and maybe a little bit about storytelling as well. So hope you all enjoyed this video, and please enjoy this last little bit that I did here with my Rhedosaurus, that replica that I still have so much fun animating. Hope to see you all in the next video.